Welcome back, this is Ethan from 115 Gaming, and to celebrate the spooky month of October and Halloween, we're going to cover the horror game Nemesis. Nemesis is a semi-cooperative sci-fi horror game that is a mix between Alien and Among Us. Unlike Six Siege, this game is not a purely tactical game, where every mistake and triumph is due to your strategic play. This is a game of randomness and survival horror, meaning that sometimes you won't be playing the game will be playing you. Even though the game is more random than your typical Euro game, that doesn't mean that there aren't good habits and strategies to employ that can improve your games. In this first survival guide, we'll show you some of the basic principles that will help you survive more games of Nemesis. In the future, we'll go more in depth on the various systems in the game. This survival guide will be broken down into 6 sections: character selection, early game, first encounter / picking your objective, non-aggressive objectives, aggressive objectives, and escaping the ship. Part 1. Character selection. At the start of the game, you'll be given 2 objectives, and a choice between 2 characters. This is your first crucial choice of the game. You can either set yourself up for an easier game, or hinder your survival right off the bat. Ideally, you want to pick a character that has the easier time of accomplishing either of your objective choices. Characters in Nemesis don't have different stats or anything like that. In this game, your character's skills are based on their deck of 10 action cards, a starting item, and 2 potential quest items. Luckily, most of the action cards are actually identical across the 6 decks. Each character has about 2 to 3 unique cards in their deck that gives them a specialty. The captain is very interactive with other crew members, so the more players in your game, the more viable the captain will be. He's got a lot of cards that allow him to help or hurt other crew members, and his revolver, while a pain to reload, is an incredibly potent gun that can take a lot of initial alien encounters. The captain is a versatile character that can take a lot of objectives with confidence. The soldier is the most basic character in the game. He shoots good. He's got the best weapon, and his action cards supplement his shooting actions very well, allowing him to confidently take most encounters thrown your way. Anything else though, and the soldier is an average character. He's a great character to buddy up with, as you can help anyone else in the early game accomplish their goals by protecting them from aliens. Pick him if you have objectives that require crew members dying, ship maintenance, etc. Anything extra, like researching or objectives like that, will be very difficult to accomplish. The scout is the best character at lone wolfing and stealth during the game. She's got a lot of good movement abilities that allow her to sneak around and avoid detection. She's got some good ways to escape aliens too. The scout is one of the few characters that can confidently survive solo. You can probably reasonably accomplish any objectives that you're given with this character. The mechanic is the go-to character for ship maintenance. He's got multiple cheap repair / break cards. He can fix malfunction tokens and extinguish fire tokens easily. In addition, he's the only character who can move through the vents of the ship, allowing him to be able to move across the whole ship easily. He's not the most reliable on his own in combat, but if you can buddy up with someone or be sneaking around the vents the whole time, you should be okay. The scientist is one of our favorite characters, despite being so, quote, weak. He's good at accomplishing very niche objectives. Most notably, using his action cards and his quest items can put you in a really easy spot to accomplish the researching objectives easily. His gun is pretty weak, and you're not going to be battling aliens left and right, but if you have the option to go for those key objectives with him, then he's a solid choice. Make sure that you try and buddy up with someone though, so they can cover you while you achieve your goals. The pilot is really good at interacting with the ship. She can interact well with computers to great effects, which allows you full access to all the ship has to offer. She's pretty versatile and can take a lot of objectives. She's just all around a really solid character, and you can't go wrong with picking her. Once again, when looking at your objectives, keep these characters in mind and try to pick one that can reasonably achieve either of your objectives. For instance, the soldier is probably not the best pick for researching an alien egg, and the scientist might have a harder time killing other players. However, keep in mind that it is actually not impossible for any character to complete any given objective, just that some characters will have a little bit of an easier time with some objectives than others. Part 2. The early game. The early game of Nemesis is all about exploration, maintenance, and item gathering. The early game ends as soon as an alien enters the ship. Exploration. You'll want to find the rooms that are vital to your objectives as soon as possible, so you can start working towards them before an alien even ever appears on the ship. When looking for an objective room, remember that they will always be one of the outer rooms around the perimeter of the ship. The key to this is buddying up and moving silently. When entering a room already occupied by a player, you don't have to roll noise at the end of the movement. Use this to your advantage. Buddy up with another crew member and move around together so as to prevent the spread of noise and, by extension, the appearance of an alien as long as possible. Maintenance. Try and use this time to check the engines and coordinates. This shouldn't be a problem, as you can often check these on your way to explore the outer rooms anyways. You want to make sure you can get a hold of this information quickly. An ideal situation would be to have the engines fixed and the coordinates set to Earth before an alien attack happens. Of course, keep in mind that if other players are doing the maintenance, that they could be lying about the information to trick you. So either pick a trustworthy player, learn to read their tells, or have another player check their actions to make sure they aren't lying. Item gathering. This is probably the most crucial in the early game. At every opportunity you can, search, and search again. Whenever you have the search card in your hand and an available item in the room, always search. You'll often find that searching for items later in the game can be difficult if you're trying to move fast or if you're swarmed by aliens, so always search before the encounters start. Another reason to search is that you'll want as many tools in your belt as possible to mitigate the randomness in the mid to late game. A crew member without items is at the mercy of bad luck or sabotage from other players. For reference, green cards will often help heal your wounds, yellow cards have miscellaneous tools that manipulate the ship, and red cards typically give you ammo or extra weapons. These are all useful to have in the pocket, as one never knows exactly what will happen to you in a given game. Part 3. First encounter / picking your objective. So, you've explored a lot of the ship, gathered items, and hopefully gotten a head start on the ship maintenance. But now, an alien encounter has suddenly sprung and the ship has been thrown into chaos. Now is the time to analyze your game state and pick an objective. This is fairly straightforward, but pick the objective that is the easiest to fulfill in this moment. Usually, Nemesis has a momentum, which means once an alien appears, more are usually to follow. So now is the time to achieve your objective and get out as quickly as possible. Don't pick an objective that needs you to be in a specific room if that room hasn't been discovered yet, or if that room is all the way across the ship. If you have aggressive objectives, try and pick the one closest to the summoned alien, or the most noise tokens. If you have non-aggressive objectives, try and pick the ones with the required rooms that are closest to you. However, be prepared. Sometimes you'll just get dealt objectives that will be difficult to achieve no matter what. In this instance, just pick the lesser of the two evils and gather as many items as possible to help you. Part 4. Achieving non-aggressive objectives. So, you've picked a non-aggressive objective. What's the best way to accomplish it? The best way to accomplish these is to hopefully start on them as soon as possible in the early game. Need to research a crew member's body? Pick up the blue body token on your first turn so you always have it ready. Need to gather 7 items? Search every room as normal before an encounter. Need to research an egg? Find the nest as quickly as possible. Hopefully, you're already part of the way to accomplishing the objective. All you need to do now is rush it as quickly as possible. In addition to completing your objective soon, try and begin formulating your escape plan now. If an escape pod chamber is close by, mark that as your exit. If you're confident in the ship's maintenance and you're close to the hibernation pods, then begin picking the shortest path to the hibernatorium. Remember though, escape pods need a key or a dead crew member, and the hibernatorium requires you to be halfway through the game. If you can continue to buddy up for this part of the game, then do so. Partnering up will help improve your chances against alien combat and surprise encounters. But be wary, your partner could always be the one assigned to kill you, so never bet your strategy completely on the actions of another player. Part 5. Achieving an aggressive objective. So, you've decided to be the trick this game. I don't blame you. Being a traitor can often be the more fun route. There's no single way to go about killing a fellow crew member, but here are my 2 favorite strategies. The Buddy Betrayal. The Buddy Betrayal is simple. Simply choose your target to be the person you partner up with in the early game. Follow them around, help them out in their time of need, gain their trust throughout the whole game, then stab them in the back at the worst possible moment. Maybe an alien appears, so you run out of the room and close the door behind you with an item. Maybe you lead them to an escape pod, only to jettison the pod before they can hop in. It doesn't matter how you do it, but the key here is to do as much as you can to ensure trust throughout the whole game before your betrayal. Wait until a moment where the player left behind has an almost 0% chance of escaping. If you drop the act too early when the players have more options and items, then their chance of escape is higher, and now the jig is up, and they'll avoid you. And you'll have potentially turned the whole table against you as well. If you can manage to pull it off right at the last moment of escape, then there's nothing they or anyone else can do to stop you. The quick exit. The quick exit is also simple. Because Nemesis is so random and can often be so brutal, I've won many a game just by grabbing an escape pod the moment I can and leaving the player to his own fate. This is obviously a gamble, but not a big one if you can execute the strategy at certain moments. Like if the first player to spring an alien is your target and is far from their goals, escape pods, or has no weapons. This player will have a much harder time surviving in these conditions, meaning you can be confident just leaving and letting the game take care of the player. If you don't want to leave things entirely up to chance, another good bet is sabotaging the ship first as a distraction and then leaving. Activate the self-destruct and force the player to spend more time on the ship fixing your problem, drastically increasing the chances of an alien death. Or sabotage the coordinates in the engines so that the players die in the hibernatorium. Once again, we would advise that you lock in an escape plan that is solid before you execute your killing play. If you drop the jig as a traitor before you can escape, you may turn the table against you and give them opportunities to sabotage your escape in turn. So make sure you can confidently escape the line of fire before the crewmates can turn on you. Part 6. Escaping the ship. So, you've researched an egg, sent the signal, or stabbed your brother in the back for a pay raise back on Earth. Time to escape. What are the things to keep in mind when escaping the ship? Firstly, keep in mind that there are only 2 ways to escape: the escape pods and hibernation. The escape pods, the most straightforward of escape plans. From either of the evacuation rooms, you can enter an escape pod and make a noise roll for 2 action cards. If you survive the noise roll, then you can decide to wait or launch the escape pod immediately. Upon launching an escape pod, you are automatically sent to Earth and taken out of the game. That pod is also taken off the board. No one else can use it once it's launched. It should be noted that each escape pod is locked until a player either unlocks them with items or events, or until a player dies, or the self-destruct reaches critical timing, in which case all escape pods automatically unlock. Hibernation. If in the Hibernatorium, a player can spend 2 action cards and make a noise roll. If they survive the noise roll, then they hibernate. They will survive if the ship is functional at the end of the game and the ship lands on Earth. It must also be noted that the hibernation option only unlocks halfway through the game. Naturally, the escape pods are a much more solid bet on a guaranteed escape, and so going for these when possible is always the recommended course of action by us. Of course, making sure you can unlock the pods is critical. Hibernation should be a backup, a last-ditch effort if the evac rooms are too far or all the pods have been taken. They are simply much more of a risk than the escape pod. What this means is finishing your objective faster becomes more imperative, as the pods are limited, and it's first come, first serve. But also keep in mind that you need to make a noise roll first, so make sure you're stocked up on ammo or items to turn the aliens away if they come near. Never forget the last noise roll. Always be prepared for this. And that's it for our first video on Nemesis. We hope you enjoyed this video and that helps you win more matches of this incredible game. Subscribe for more Nemesis analysis videos as well as some gameplay videos in the future. Until next week, have a happy Halloween, and we'll see you next time.